Welcome to Networking 101. You are going to understand in this module the importance of creating and using a network. Wow! We have networks of all different types. Networking is not new. We've always been networking way since we were in caves, social networking. But now we have new tools to go ahead and begin to establish relationships. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is we're going to go into why do you need a network? And then some of the follow-up that we'll be doing are specific tools to help you establish that network. Your network, it's all about building relationships. This is absolutely mission critical. You need to look at your network as a long-term, living, breathing, growing. You'll hear me say that quite a few times. This is not just a one-time assignment, make a network and be done with it. You want to think long-term, a team of people that are going to help you professionally, maybe personally, create new relationships. So it's all about relationships. And it's really important when you start to think about networking is that you look from the other person's perspective. You don't always want to be the one that I want you in my network because I want to get something from you. You want to make sure that you are building value for everybody that's in your network. That's really important. And as we go through this, you'll hear me say it over and over again. Now, what I'm talking about when I talk about networking is I'm not talking about the person that runs around the high school reunion collecting business cards and try to get stuff their pockets full so they have the most contacts. What I'm really talking about is meaningful, professional networking. And all of that, no matter what tool you decide to use, all of that is built on relationships that matter. And you have to make sure that you're giving back to your network as well as taking from your network. So you'll hear kind of those themes as I go through this. Do not get stuck on the minutia, which is the platform or the tool. That's not what it's about. What it really is about is it forming groups of people that you can learn and grow with. That's what it's all about. So don't get all stuck to, oh no, I'm Twittering. No, I got a LinkedIn. I have to do this. That's not what it's about. Today, this module is about why is having a network important? Many of you are just starting out and you might feel you don't have a network, and I'm hoping to show you otherwise. You want to focus on the relationships over how many people you can collect. You know, we hear all the time in the media, so-and-so has so many million friends on Facebook. Well, does that really matter? Or is it the depth of the relationships? And there's different types of relationship in the network. But what we're going to be focusing on through this entire set of lessons is creating the high quality relationships that might help you in the future, or you can help somebody else in the future using your network. To meet people, the very, very best way is to have people that you already know introduce you. That is the best way. Much better than a cold call, which is a traditional sales term. Your friends want to help you. You want to help your friends. And you can see from this very simple post-it note diagram that we're all connected in different ways. Very, very important as we look at our network that it's not just one set of network of one type of people. We want to have a very broad network because one person knows that person that knows that person. It used to be who you knew, but now it's who knows you. So that's very important as we talk about networking. You have connections right now. Look around. You have people that you take classes with. You have friends. You have friends of friends, hopefully parents, teachers, professors. You already have quite a few connections. But now it's a way to think about those connections that you can form your network that you can live and grow together with. Now, long gone are the days that you're going to have one job and stay with it for your entire career. That really, really happens very rarely now. What we really need is have these networks so when things change and ebb and flow, you have your network that you can rely on for the relationships that will help you grow. Now, very often, there's two kinds of relationships within a network. One is casual acquaintances, just people you know, maybe talk to rarely, maybe see them at a conference. Had them in one class years ago and you haven't seen them. Those are casual acquaintances. That's, hey, how are you? Great to see you. Okay, think acquaintance when you think that. But another thing, especially if you're kind of starting out in the work field, you really want to be working on professional allies. Professional allies are those people, that trusted group that will help you grow and you change and be the very best you can be. You want to think long term. Many of us will switch industries and your relationships will change, but you're not the only one switching industries. So is everybody else kind of jumping around. And so the network we start today is going to be ebbing and flowing constantly as people move, positions change, things in their life change, all different reasons. But we have to know that it's going to change. Think long term, not just do this to get it done. Think long term relationships. So early in your career, it's particularly important to get these allies. These people are going to help you, give you really good advice. They're going to help plan for your future, help point out what are you strong in, what maybe be a real honest, what are your weaknesses, and you want to use these professional allies to help you build your network. You have to work at this network. It's not just going to fall in your lap. You have to actually go out and pursue these people. So your professional allies are kind of the friends that you're going to keep pretty close, that you can go to when you're thinking about maybe changing positions or you have an opportunity and you need a trusted group to go to. Those are considered your professional allies. There's also really important to remember that there are looser connections. This might be a friend of a friend, but as I'll illustrate through this model, they are really, really important people also. You just might not talk to them every day, maybe not every week, but you still are connected to them. So they're important, but the professional allies are the ones kind of your go-to team when you need to make some decisions. Now, a sociologist did some research. How do people get jobs? And a lot of people want to know how to get jobs today. So here was just some research that was done. So 16%, they found it through a contact that they saw often. Okay, 16%, that's how they got their job. But look at that whopping 55%. This is from those loose connections, the ones you only saw occasionally. 55%. Wow. So your trusted allies are probably the 16%. Now we jump to those loose connections at 55. And look at that, 27% through a contact they saw rarely. Very interesting. And this comes from a great book that you absolutely need to read, and it is called The Startup of You. It's written by Reid Hoffman, who is the co-founder and chairman of LinkedIn. He also has a co-author, Ben Casnocha. I'll spell it for you, Casnocha. And this book really gets into relationships and all different things. And so, sociologist Mark did this research, but as he went deeper, why? Why were people helping you get jobs? Because we tend to hang out with other people that have similar interests, or sometimes they're called mirror interests. You hang out with people that are like you. Weak ties, that's what the kind of the broader ones, not your professional allies. They help make bridges to other worlds or other groups that you might want to cross over into. And you have to think about the breadth and the reach of your network. That's why you want to have a lot of different type of people in your network. But the 1973 research really said that you really kind of hang out with people you like with similar interests. But everyone, 1973 was like a million years ago in getting a job today. We just didn't have the tools. Back in 1973, I won't date myself, but typewriters. Some of you have never even touched a typewriter, was how you would do your resume and your cover letters and things like that. So you really didn't have many options in 1973. Whew, fast forward. Got a billion, about 1 billion estimated professionals worldwide, okay? People that are considered professionals. Right now, as of me making this, there's over 1 million of those people that are on LinkedIn, the website LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about all these different tools. So you don't have to be an expert in LinkedIn now, but I wanted to give you a sense of that. Wow, look at how different that is. You got 1 billion in the whole world. Now 100 million of them come together on one platform. Wow. So I love this. This is right out of the same book. It's on page 114. Do the math. Let's say that you are on LinkedIn and you have 40 friends. Okay? You've got 40 friends. Each of your friend has 35 friends. So you're 40, now at 35. And those friends have 45 unique friends, meaning that they don't cross over in the other networks, which you know there is going to be some repeat. But let's just do the math. Look down there. Do the math. 40 times 35 times 45. Suddenly, you have 54,000 people you could ask for an introduction. And that's the key to this whole networking thing is having people introduce you. That works so much better in this world today than cold calling or just blanketing resumes out there. And that's why these platforms, whatever they are, these platforms have become very, very, very important in the job market today. So I took a look at mine, and I had no idea I had grown my network on LinkedIn to 304. And I'm going to be real honest, I'm not doing a great job of leveraging my network. But if you just look at those numbers, trusted friends and colleagues that I've worked with, 304. I'm 2 degrees away from 38,000 plus. But look how quickly the 3 degrees jumps. Well, if I want some new projects or I want to work on something new, wow, my 304 trusted colleagues, friends, people I've endorsed, people that have endorsed me, that's a great place for me to go ahead and get started. So don't worry about using the tool yet. I just really want to, with a broad brush, paint why everybody in the world really needs a network today. While I was at it, I thought I was just going to go over and find out what I was doing on Twitter these days. I tend to use Twitter a lot more than I do LinkedIn, but I'm really starting to rethink that. And if you can see in my upper right hand corner, I tweet quite a bit. I have lots of followers, and a lot of people are following me. Almost the same number of followers I'm following. And there's my profile and some new people that I'm following. This, to me, is a really critical part of my professional learning network. So LinkedIn, I'm going to get better at. Twitter, I'm pretty good, but you probably don't even want to be in my network. Because really, in my network, I talk about education. I talk about technology. I talk about things tied to the future 21st century skills, things like that. So you may not even want to be part of my 5,000. But let's say you were a aspiring teacher or a tech director. Boy, you want in, because that's all we're talking about all day and into the evening long. This is really important as we start out in this unit. Your professional learning network. I call it my PLN. And I choose professional learning network because this is beyond Facebooking with your friends and what did you do this weekend. This is creating those strong connections and your loose network. You need a professional learning network. Even if you have no clue what you want to go into, what kind of career you may end up with, you still need a professional learning network. And that's what I'm going to be modeling, how to go ahead and get started with that. You want to prize diversity. It's great that you have all different friends that maybe all like baseball. Hey, that's great. But we're talking about professional learning. One of our goals when we go to school is to get jobs. And so now we need this diverse network to help us make connections. You can see this screenshot done. We've got everything from Terre Haute, Indiana, Washington, D.C., Sun Microsystems, Silicon Valley. This looks like a really neat network to be connected to. So diversity is really important. You just don't want to be like me on Twitter with just certain education geeks. You want to be more diverse, but yet you still want to protect your digital footprint, which we'll be talking quite a bit about throughout these units. Your network can grow, just like my surprise when I went over to my LinkedIn network. It can become bigger and probably faster than you thought possible by learning some of these tools and some of this how to. Now, there's different types of networks. We're going to talk about both open and closed networks, and both of them are really important to understand. A lot of people today don't understand networking because, hey, flashback to 1973. We didn't really have networking. We really had, hey, let's talk to the other people in the office, or let's, talk to, send an email to a colleague. Well, we weren't even doing that in 73. But this whole concept of network, a lot of people don't understand it. And so that's why we're actually going to be using this paintbrush to kind of paint the why and the how, and then dig into, okay, here's what LinkedIn is, here's what Twitter is, here's what Facebook is, those kind of things, as well as learning some of the soft skills and other things like that. So let's talk with closed network. A closed network usually has an invitation only or a passcode in. Only a select group of people get to come into a network. It might be a company network. Sometimes they're called intranets. But everybody has to have some type of way in. So that is a closed network. Now there's a lot of reasons why you want to be in both closed and open at the same time. In a closed network, you can connect with others that are kind of in the same boat. They might be taking classes. You might be on different campuses, but you might be enrolled in the same class. Or you might have the same major, even though you're in different parts of the globe. You're kind of in the same boat. It's the only way I could think to put it. You also, in a closed network, usually have access to resources that are not public to other people. That it's a private collection, or they're asking for your feedback and your involvement for you to submit things. And we're doing that kind of behind a closed door of the network. It's a great place for you to learn about how do you do social networking. What do you say? What do you not say? You're going to hear me over and over again. Don't say it. And we'll talk about that. So a closed network is kind of like a walled garden where you can practice and learn behind the scenes. But it also is a closed network is a place where you can start to make those connections with other people in the safe closed network that then can blossom into the more public networks like the LinkedIn, the Pinterest, and some of these other ones. And so it's kind of like your little safe playpen, and then you can go and extend your relationships behind. So closed networks, very important, usually subject or topic specific. You need to be working in both a closed network and an open network at the same time. So you can't say, ooh, for the next 2 years, I'll stay safely in my closed network. Well, you can't do that. You have to kind of be in both. And so it's really important that you keep the plate spinning in your closed network while you're tiptoeing out into the open networks. You also have to stop the limiting thinking. And a long time ago, you kind of made groups of people that were in your classes, or went to your church, or were in your neighborhood. I call it my campus thinking. These people are close to me, so I'll have relationships with them. Well, today, with all of these tools, we can have people from across the globe that are part of your network. I have people all over the globe that are in my Twitter network, as well as my some of my closed networks. It does get a little hard on Twitter. I had to block somebody yesterday because they Twitter in a language I can't read. So I'm like, ooh, maybe it's the greatest thing in the whole world, but I don't read whatever language they're writing in, so that is a little bit of a problem. You also have to make sure that you have fresh information that flows throughout your networks. And I want you to be generous. I want you to be smart. You need to give, feed your networks. And that way you give to a network and they give back to you. And you absolutely have to nurture your networks. They're not going to thrive. What happens all the time with some crazy numbers, 65% of people start Twittering and they stop right away because it doesn't make any sense. You start and you stop, your network's going to die. You have to feed it, you have to grow it. And to do that, you don't have to go out and get a Farmville gift card and, feed the chickens. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you have to continue to share key information with your group, news, things in your field. You continue to give good quality information, and then you can also take back from your network. And I'm going to teach you all the strategies on how to do that and all the various platforms. Networking 101 has just begun. I hope you've just begun to think about possibilities and ways that you'd like to build your network. The following modules will give you the real nitty gritty, and we're going to have you actually go in, start creating these networks. And that's really when you're going to start to see some of these wow, aha ideas begin to happen. So thank you for joining me.